Oh, okay. Okay, Jack isn't coming, so I guess I can call the meeting to order. And would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, then Josh's not coming tonight and all the members are present. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, or are there any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Have a second? Motion's made by Jenny, seconded by Rick to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, there's no unfinished business. So we will open up the hearing for the application 2017-1 by the Methodist Church. And are there any comments in regard to that? Anyone like to speak? Wayne?
I'm here for the Methodist Church, and we do have a lot size, what it's going to be. The lot for the house will be 41 feet, and the
31
church,
feet?
41, and the church will sit on 59. You need a copy?
What?
Do you need a copy of it to have on file?
Yeah.
If I could get it back or something.
So 41, so they're talking about making the house lot 41 feet.
We have sale pending on the house, and the lawyers thought that we should get something written up how we're going to split it. And apparently there's something in the laws that says should be a 50-foot lot.
Yes.
So that's how we're coming for a variance to sell it
So-
at 41 feet.
Right, so they're asking us for a variance to allow them to sell.
I have one question. The markers you got out there that goes from First Street all the way to the alley, the property line, between the house and the church?
Yes, there will be a variance worked out with the homeowner as far as the garage.
Oh, okay.
Garage access.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments from anyone? Any questions? If not, then I need a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made by Rick, seconded by Jenny to close the hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now moving on to the bid openings and quotes. Do we have the bid in front of us for the park sidewalk?
No,
No?
I didn't get one.
Okay.
I called a couple places, but neither one of them had time. One didn't get back to me, and the other one didn't have time to get it done yet, so
Okay,
everybody's pretty busy right now.
so we'll table that right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Then moving on to the fuse holder and the transmission grounds thing. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we had, was a couple weeks ago, we had that lightning strike and a power outage. A lightning strike hit our incoming 69 line, damaged a couple fuses in the fuse holder. So we need to get that fixed, because right now the fuse, the center phase that's up there, the fuse might fall out, it might stay, it could last a year, it could last 10 years, or it could go out tomorrow, so. Just something that we need to get fixed and taken care of.
Is that covered by insurance?
Partial it is, yes, not the whole thing. They're still kind of working on that. I've been giving him what he needs and just trying to get the rest of the quotes and everything else for it, so.
Okay.
So the 13,000 is the bid to do the work, and some of that may be covered by insurance, but you don't know
Correct.
which amount.
The only thing that insurance is going to cover is the actual center fuse that was damaged, but we're going to replace all three of them. Just because you're up there, you place one, you might as well place the other two. And they'll cover, Kerry and Peterson said they'll have to do it on kind of a time and material thing, on how long it's going to take to do that center fuse, and that's what they'll charge for. So it'll be, it'll basically be probably a third of what this bill is,
Okay. Okay, any other questions in regard to that? Now I need a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion by Rick, second by Ralph to approve the purchase of the fuse holder, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. There are no presentations. Are there any questions in regard to the consent agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve it.
I'll make make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ralph made a motion to approve the consent agenda, and Rick seconded, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Moving on to number 10, the Methodist Church zoning application. We just had the hearing on it. Does anyone have any more discussion on it? If not, we need a motion to approve their proposal of selling the house with a 41-foot lot, and the church will have a 59-foot lot, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So was that a variance application submitted?
Yes. Yep. It's in our packet here.
So along with the motion, you should determine that there's, would be an undue hardship to the property owners.
Okay, that should be stated in the
It should be
motion.
stated if,
Okay.
if the variance was not allowed, we need, if they have an undue hardship because of the circumstances that have arisen, the way the property is, so that the variance should be granted.
Do you have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
And with the finding that
Oh,
due to the circumstances beyond their control, there's undue hardship so that it's justifiable.
To the finding on due hardship and,
Just what he said?
yeah, just what he said.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Rick, seconded by Jenny, to approve the Methodist Church zoning application. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to number 11, the Darlene Sell tree shelter belt that she's going to transfer to the city. We did make a motion to accept it earlier, didn't we? But did we?
Yeah, so here's the situation. The parcel is all one, and we're trying to split off the east 122 feet. And there's a couple ways to do it. And the way that she would prefer, which is, and I can't argue, it's the better way to do it, is have it surveyed so that there's no issues in the future. Because it's not just a square lot, it's an irregular shape. And so I can see where the survey would be the best thing. So
this is just,
she's agreeing to donate the property, but we will need to get it surveyed.
okay.
So we have the proper legal description and the survey drawing. So what we would need is authorization to get surveyed on the property.
Anyone have any questions in regard to doing a survey?
I don't know, she had done one on a property to the south, but it's been a long time. So I'm thinking we're in the $500 to $1,000 range,
Just going to ask that.
but that's my guess.
Okay. Any other comments?
I just think doing it to avoid any future
I agree.
entanglements is the way to go.
Yeah. So with that, I need a motion to approve having a survey done
I
on that
would
property.
make a motion to survey that property that's going to be donated.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Ralph, seconded by Rick to go ahead and have Darlene's property surveyed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Moving on to Gary. We're going to turn it over to you right now, Gary.
Good evening, folks. It's great to be back here with you. Here tonight to talk about a little bit more about the hiring process for the city clerk treasurer administrator position. In your packets is a draft of a profile or a brochure, if you will, pertaining to the position. So I'd like to get your feedback on that, see if there are any changes that are needed to that document. Secondly is to talk about the salary range that you would like to publish for this position. And then finally, talk about some upcoming possible dates for a special meeting of the council to select finalists, and then an interview day as well. So I'd like to start with the profile document. Obviously, I won't read through it or anything right now. You've had it. You've had a chance to look at it. I'm very open to any feedback, any changes, corrections, et cetera, that need to be made to more accurately state the facts about the community. So a couple of things The salary range will be inserted, obviously, after you set it, but I'm interested in your feedback on the rest.
I read it, I thought it was very good. You did.
I just have a question.
Yeah?
Minimum qualifications include a bachelor's degree and 5 years of public sector administrative experience. What kind of candidate pool are we gonna get? I mean, realistically, what are your thoughts on that?
So that's what the job description says, that is a minimum requirement for the position. You do have that little bit of vague language in there that also says there's a combination of a degree and clerk certification, maybe a substitute for a bachelor's degree. So there are a few other ways in. I do think 5 years, the expectation of a 5-year public sector administrative experience is fairly high for this position. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but when you have that threshold, a lot of times job descriptions get written based on somebody that's been in the position a while, such as what you had here. But I guess I'm open to do with that whatever you feel is appropriate.
Well, I guess my feeling is I don't want to rule out a good candidate just because they don't have 5 years of experience.
Right.
And, I mean, the technical degree plus city clerk certification, well, that's 3 years to get your city clerk certification.
Right.
So, I don't know, that's just.
So one way to handle this is, if you're interested in changing that, is, I like throwing the door open as wide as possible. I mean, later on in the process, you'll be able to determine whether or not somebody is a good fit or not, is going to meet what you expect them. If you wanted to do that, you could remove that language about 5 years of experience and just leave it open. It does, it's going to encourage a bunch more applicants, or if you want to lower that number to 2 or 3 years or something like that, it's really your call to make. The 5 is, I would say, is fairly high threshold for a position in a community this size.
I would think maybe 3 years of experience in local government, or,
That's kind of what we're saying here in a way, a public sector administrative experience.
well, that implies it. I guess to me that implied that you were an administrator. So I mean, you could come from a city clerk position and apply for an administrator position.
So you could take out the word administrative.
Right.
And just leave it, and then however many years you wanted it to state. That's up to you.
I'm going through.
Whatever you got.
What do you think?
I think, Jenny, we gotta go with what you think, because you
Yep.
do this. We don't.
What's your thing?
I think 3 years of public,
Just take this administrative
yes,
out.
3 years of public sector experience.
Okay, so.
Like he said, we can always whittle out people. It's better to have a bigger pool, I think, than not have some. I would hate to see somebody not apply who might be qualified just because of that.
Because of
language,
that, right. Okay, so would you like to change that language then to just say that sentence would end 3 years of public sector experience, strike administrative, change the word 5 to 3?
Yes.
Okay. That can easily be done. Any other concerns, questions? All right. So one thing with that, I pulled that directly from your job description, is that since it states that in the job description as a minimum qualification, should that be modified in the position description as well? It seems to me that you would want to do that. That part I would think would take council action to modify that language. The same language is in the position description under minimum requirements.
Did we make that motion now?
I would, yeah.
I'll make a motion to change it in the,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion by Jenny and seconded by Ralph that we change the language so it coincides with our description of our position. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay, any other comments, suggestions, concerns about the profile document? We'll make those changes. I saw there's one on the last page, position announcement, the word in is on the other side of the Fairfax logo, so we'll get that fixed. One lonely word over there.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll take care of that as well before we publish it. Okay. So then the next item for discussion would be the salary range. Earlier this year, you modified the salary schedules, I believe, for all the positions in the city, and basically took a 10 or 11 step system and added 10 or 11 steps to the existing system. The result of that action for this position caused the salary to go from $74,152 up to $118,539. I believe that higher number is out of sync with the market. I'd love to advertise this at that rate because it will attract people, but on the other hand, I do feel obligated to say to you that number is higher than what the marketplace would determine. The range used to top out before you made that change at $94,931, which to me is a good, consistent number with the market. But it's up to you how you want to advertise that. But I do feel, people look into this kind of thing, and right now with that as your range, I really don't want people sort of assuming that they're going to be able to go up to that range unless you're absolutely committed to having people go up to that range. Then by all means, yes. But my guess is you took that action earlier this year to, as I understood it, was to kind of compensate people that have topped out in your scale. Great idea, but this new person coming in is, people are mindful of what the salary range is. So I just want to bring that up as a point for you to contemplate. Let me add one more thing to it. I think my other suggestion to you, and I believe this is already kind of in the thinking about it stage, is at some point you're probably going to want to look at your compensation system in full to see how it compares to the market overall. That will remedy any of the issues here that you currently have with your system, because then you can kind of confirm where you're at in the marketplace. But right now, you're, I would say, out of sync with the marketplace with that full scale. And it's pretty unusual to have a 20-some point or step system. So.
Comments and
Well, this is just talking about starting.
Well, so, yeah, what is the starting range? That really depends on the person, what the person comes to the job with. So you could just say the position starts at $74,152, and the first phone call I'm going to get is going to be, well, what's the top? Because people want to know that, even if they're thinking they're going to start at the base, they want to know, well, where does it end? Because what's the margin there? If I start at 74, do I end at 76? Likely not, but people ask that question. So generally what I do is just say, here's the range. Doesn't mean you're going to start near the top of the range. Some people start at the bottom. A lot of times people come with some experience that warrants a little bit of, starting a little bit above the bottom. But so, yeah, we could just say the low number, but I know that there will be a lot of questions about, well, what's the rest of the story?
Right, but if that's what our top range is right now, how do we remedy that without changing the entire scale at this point?
and that's what he's saying, we need to
Right.
work on that. But in order to get this process going right now. He needs a number there. Okay, and then perhaps this is something you can look at, you know, a little farther down the road.
Right, I just don't, I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. But where would we like it to realistically be?
One of the ways we could, if you're uncomfortable inserting some lower number in there as the top, we could say the position starts at 74,152. Current incumbent was at X, which gives a pretty good, because your current employee is not anywhere near the top of the range because you just implemented that. And, you know, again, that it would take her, what, 10 more years to get to that top of the range, and she's
I
been here
would
for
feel more
30-some years.
comfortable
I
doing
think
that.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do
Alright.
you think, Bill?
Well, I think when I look for, you know, when I look at openings in my profession, I look at the range, and I just always understand that you're jumping in someplace, and then you have to do time and experience to get, you know, but you always get some benefit for where you are. And I also know from hiring, you know, administrators, you always think you're going to have a big savings, but it takes almost as much to get the replacement. That's the one that just left. Because
Exactly.
that's just how it works.
Right.
So I think, I don't know what to say on this. What do you think, Rick?
Now, can you go just like, say, 74 to 100,000, depending on experience or something like that? Have a range there, you know, if you get somebody who's really smart, that knows what they're doing, give them more money, they know they can get more.
Do you ever say 74, or do you ever say the base number and then say, you know,
Depending on qualifications.
Yeah.
That is the option.
but you're still going to get those
I'm
calls.
still going to get those questions because people again are going to be thinking in their, you know, where does it end for me? You
And
know,
this is, anybody that's looking for this job is going to be smart enough to look online and see what that is. It's
Right.
not public information.
right. So that's
What
usually
that
why I
is.
just throw it right out there because yeah, it is public information. But maybe we could in this case say the position starts at 74,152, depending on, you know, qualifications, some phrasing along that line. And then I just handle the questions on a case-by-case basis and explain the system that you have when questions come up. Because I think, you know, what I would say to people is exactly what I said to you tonight. Here's what you did, you know, here's why you did it as a council. However, this is going to be looked at, there's a realization that this high number is probably not a realistic number long-term for this position. So the new number when a compensation study is, when you're all done with that, it'll be more in line with the market. I mean, I think that it could be handled that way. And then we could just have that base, publish that base salary with some language.
Yeah.
You wanna go
I don't
that
want to lie and not tell them what our top is,
Right.
because it is what it is.
That's what
Right.
it is right now.
But I don't want them to think that that's realistic either, you know, if we're gonna be looking at it in the future.
Right.
Because then they're gonna come in thinking, well, this is the top, and then we say, oh no, we're scaling that.
And we're not going to start a third or fourth year person at the same place Marcia was.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not how it's going to
All right. So we'll go with the starting salary, depends on qualification, whatever that, you know, I'll figure out the right language for that. But that sounds like an acceptable way to handle it. And then I'll just do the explaining with people who call. So, because it'll take some explanation and it's better to do that directly with people so they understand that. Okay. All right. So that's really not anything, I wouldn't think that would require action. You haven't changed anything. So then the last thing that I wanted to talk with you about was the timeline. I think it's the last page in your packet that I provided you. There's a couple of dates in there that are highlighted. The first is September 19th. So that's not a regular meeting night for you, but my thought is that if you are willing to schedule a special meeting for September 19th, that would be the time when you would select people to come in for the final interview process. So prior to the 19th of September, the position will close in early September. There'll be a video interview. You'll have access to those video interviews. You can watch those interviews review their application materials as well as a personality index. And then when I come on the 19th, that's when you pick, say there's 10 semifinalists from that group, you pick people to come in for the final interview, whatever that number is, 3 to 5, let's say. And then, you know, this would be something if you did want to proceed with that date. I don't know what your procedure is for scheduling a special meeting, but you'd have to follow that.
Does it work for you then?
Yeah, work for me.
Okay.
Okay? So you can set that at a later, whatever your protocol is for that. Okay, and then the next one would be the interview days, or day. I'm sort of thinking in this case, it would be a single day interview and that it would involve whatever components you want for the interview. But generally I do, if it is a one-day interview, I would say it will encompass the full day of interview-related activities. When I come on September 19th, you could determine exactly what those interview-related activities are, what do you want to include in the interview process. But I do like to have a tentative interview date that we publish right from the beginning. If you need to change it, that's one thing, but I like to just tell candidates up front, here's the date, you know. So if you're applying for this position, you're kind of locking in that interview date. So,
Take it
that's
out.
all.
That's all right.
It's a Wednesday. That works for me.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
11th is good then.
Okay. So again, that will be, and we
That's all
can,
day. All day.
well, I would envision your role probably starting late morning and then going all the rest of the day, probably into the evening, but we'll figure that out depending on what other activities you want to have involved as far as what the interview day looks like. So plan late morning and then the rest of the day, till like midnight.
Yeah.
So,
We have one
Finishing up at the bar.
and what else are we planning here?
yeah, not that.
They're interviewing us as much as we're interviewing.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So we'll,
That
I mean,
is
like I
true.
said, when I come back, we'll talk about what do you want to include in the day of interviews. So, all right. Well, I believe that is all of the items that I needed to cover with you tonight. The changes made to the profile will be minimal. We will advertise the position starting tomorrow and get that out there.
And Marcia, your last day is?
I'm retiring on the 31st, October 31st.
So we will not have someone in place before she leaves, correct?
I would say there is a possibility of that. However, I would say it's less than 50-50 chance, depending on what kind of notice somebody needs to give. You know, that's the variable here. So usually now people have to give about a 30-day notice if they're in a leadership role. Not everywhere, not all the time, but
I worry about Mrs. Yondel if we don't have someone in place. So what do we?
So I would say you should talk more about your options. Honestly, I feel the pressure on the timeline, but I'm not going to compromise the process.
No, I don't
for
want
the
you to
timeline.
compromise the process.
So this is as fast as it can go.
Okay.
And this is faster than it normally goes. So you may want to discuss what are your options for that interim period of time,
Okay.
which could involve bringing somebody else in, bringing in somebody temporarily to help with day-to-day tasks. I mean, I guess I would explore that with Marcia and with your other staff to see what you need to do to accommodate that.
Okay, anybody have any more questions for Gary? If not, we probably should just make a motion right now that we're going to have that special meeting on September 19th.
I'll make a motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Rick, second by Ralph, that we'll have a special meeting for selection of finalists on September 19th at, what time, 7 o'clock?
7 works.
7 o'clock, works, everybody.
Now, does the 11th become a meeting too?
I think we need a motion for that too,
It's a council
because it's a
meeting.
council meeting.
I would actually wait on that
Okay.
because part of that will be a council meeting, part of it won't. And once we figure out a schedule for that day, then you can determine what you need to
Okay.
post.
Okay.
Unless you have just some generic way you post the whole day that council members may be involved in interviews or something. But if you need to be specific, it's probably better to wait till the schedule's set.
Okay, when we know more, we'll.
Right, right.
Okay, there's nothing else, well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Did they vote on that motion?
oh, did you, oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, moving on to the MediaCom franchise agreement. We were discussing that a little bit before the meeting. Do you want to just,
Yeah, well, this, I don't know how far back it goes, Marcia, do you remember? They've been after us for a while, so it
2015?
resurfaced now and
3 years ago.
something like, yeah, sounds right. And so, back then, we had talked about possibly getting, well, we knew the RS was coming down the pipe, and other cities, and I know of one in particular that's spent many thousands with a franchise attorney trying to get a favorable deal with MediaCom, and it was difficult. Eventually they did it, and I'd spoken with him about maybe working on this deal for us, but we wanted to wait until RS was closer. So I think, you know, what you're talking about with,
Well, I guess what we did is we just tabled the MediaCom franchise agreement until we passed the RS Fiber franchise agreement. And then we sent that to MediaCom and said, here's the
this.
franchise agreement,
Yeah.
and they really couldn't, and we still don't have one. They
Right.
haven't with MediaCom. They wouldn't settle, but they're still operating, you know.
yeah, which they have, and they, I think, gave us an extension on when ours expired before, so,
I think they're just operating under an expired contract.
yeah.
So, right,
Yeah.
They didn't extend
So-
it.
because they don't want to,
They had offered 3% franchise fee, where RS was at 5.
But that's the only thing I saw in there that was
That's
really
the only,
different.
yeah, that's what I,
Did you reviewed both
I looked at both of
contracts
them,
and that
yeah.
was the only thing
Yeah.
that was different?
so
They
maybe we
must
take
have
the same
changed.
approaches.
yeah, they must have changed it then, because theirs was not that favorable when we negotiated.
Okay.
But, yeah, I guess that's, once they're forced to, you know,
Well, from my notes from a couple years ago, I had it that he was saying 5% was the norm, and they're offering 3, so maybe we need to.
but we're close to the RS Fiber, aren't we, Marcia? Because, is that why you asked for?
I was asking RS Fiber for it, and I still haven't gotten it from them, but
What's that?
their franchise agreement,
Well, I sent you the one we have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
That's
the
what
one
I-
you sent to me.
yeah.
So you don't, the one you reviewed was not one for Fairfax?
Well, it should be the same thing.
media
It'll be the
one
same,
was, but,
yeah. The RS Fiber will be the same, because that's
But-
the same one Gibbon has in Gaylord.
RS Fiber said they would send me one by Tuesday.
So what's
So
our
we need
move
to-
here?
We need to follow up with RS and
Well,
probably at the
I-
same time tell MediaCom we want 5%.
Well, I would think you'd want 5%.
because it should be the same as fiber.
Yeah.
And once we adopt RS Fibers, they'll have to comply.
If we pass it with 3%, then RS Fiber comes in and says, we'll give you 3%.
So we
Right.
don't pass
So we're
this
not gonna have
tonight, we
any
just
action on
just
this
hang
tonight.
on.
Well,
Yeah.
you could take action on it and just say you want
So I
5%.
can direct, staff
Yeah.
to go back to MediaCom.
That's probably
and say we
pointless,
want-
though, they're not gonna
Let's just
do it
wait and do
anyway.
the
I would
RS
like
one
to table
first.
it till we
Yes.
pass RS Fibers,
Makes-
franchise agreement.
Makes a
What
lot
do
of
you think,
sense.
Rick?
Well, when's RS Fiber coming to town?
Well, they should have a franchise agreement here, well, you said by Tuesday.
Yeah, today.
They told me October 1st, they'll be hooking people up by the end of the year. And that was, I was told that on Monday, but we'll see.
Is it buried in town here yet?
No.
They're starting this week.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
okay.
starting this week.
This week? Okay.
So it's probably not too far down the
They're
road.
probably
No.
starting tomorrow.
So,
Okay.
am I under the understanding that you want me to call
Well,
MediaCom
or we
and
just
get
table it
5%?
We're tabling
Table it
it
till
till.
we
I
get
would
ours.
like to table it till we get RS Fibers.
Okay.
They'll probably call you.
It's just that, did you see anything different in the contract other than the 3%? I didn't.
No.
I'm not an expert in contracts by any means.
Okay, so everybody's in agreement, we're gonna wait until we're tabling this right now. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what I would like to do.
Now we're moving on to ordinance 414, amending the city code in section 78, and this has to do with dangerous animals.
Yeah, quick rundown on this is the code. We never noticed it till, I think Marcia noticed it recently. It said that the dangerous, an animal that was deemed dangerous had to be registered, and it says currently with the county. So we just want it to be with the city.
Okay, so we need a motion to make that change.
I'll make a motion to make that change.
So that'd be a motion.
Right behind the meeting.
And approve.
Ordinance for,
14.
Oh, right behind the house.
Okay. Right. Everybody understand that?
That's where you can see.
It's right here.
it's just a one-page ordinance.
It's really after.
I couldn't find that one.
Give me here,
Okay.
I'll find these.
All right. You're on it. Rick's on the case.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve ordinance 414 with the change of,
Make a
Who is this
motion.
person? That's a good question.
That's what I was gonna ask.
okay, so I have a motion from Jenny
You wanna-
to approve.
Can I ask one question quick?
Yes, yes.
Who is the animal control officer? That be the cops?
Usually it's the chief law enforcement
Okay,
officer,
okay.
but if you wanted to spend the money on someone.
Oh, no, I just was wondering.
No, I think, yeah.
I'll need a raise.
Yeah, okay, that's all, I was wondering.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a motion for ordinance, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made by Jenny, seconded by Rick to approve ordinance 414 with the change. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now moving on to the B. Brown's Edition Lot 6 and Block 6 parcel with Donald Cease, land that they want to donate to the city. Does anybody have any questions about that? Does everybody know where it is?
I don't know where it is. Where is that?
It's up north.
Yes.
First Street Northeast.
Yeah. Do you know, well, I don't even know
Don Blight?
what's up there. It's,
Like Don Blake?
what?
Not Don, the old white house up by.
Don Blake's.
Right next to Volts.
It's on that block.
Volts lives, yeah.
No, where Don Blake
Rhineland
lives?
House, right?
Steve Volts.
Across from
I don't
the
even know
house.
who
From-
lives, it used to be Reinhardt that lived there.
Yeah.
And that other-
Ah,
It's
Hillman.
an empty
Hillman
lot
lives
over
in
across.
Hillman? Hillman lives there?
Yeah. Okay, discussion on that. Is there any reason why we would not accept that?
No.
Anybody?
Right up.
Sure.
Yeah, it's on the house.
You'd have to get rid of the
You
house.
know where Clyde Bradley used
Why
to
does he
live?
want to donate it to the city?
Okay, right at kitty
I don't
corner.
know.
Nice down one.
Why does he want to donate it to the
Yeah,
city?
why do they want to donate it to the city?
He died.
Out of the goodness of their heart?
Well, if there's a house on it, then we gotta take it down. So that's why they want to donate it to the city, so we have to tear down the house?
Well, eventually we'd end up doing it.
Probably, correct.
Way things go.
Correct.
It's a nice lot besides the house,
Just
but
get it over with, take the house.
I will make a motion that we accept the lot.
Okay, do you have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Jenny, seconded by Rick that we accept the lot.
Right here.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. We can maybe put another park up there.
Neighborhood park.
Oh, this one.
That's one right there.
Okay.
Okay, then,
Lot there.
Tom has decided he does not want to do the snow blowing anymore, so he's discontinuing his contract. And with that, we probably need to start advertising for someone this winter.
Mhm.
Everyone agree with that?
Yep.
Okay, so that takes care of that. Marcia, you'll start advertising so we have someone take care of our snow, please?
Yep.
Okay, then 17 is the SIP program. We're exempt from that now, and what do you want to do with that? Do you want to continue it?
I think we should continue it.
I put in there the administration for the SIP program. You know, we pay CMMPA to administer it. And the commercial and the residential is what we're actually paying out to customers. It's this sheet.
I just saw
Oh,
it.
here,
now. I
let's see.
can't
Here
find
it is, right here. This is it, right here.
So,
Oh, there.
lots of administration. So, I
And we're
guess that's
paying
up
that
to
to
CMPA
CMPA. for-
and Energy Insights. They contract with Energy Insights to.
But we offer rebates to the residents.
Yeah, this all comes out of the electric fund. Yes. The rebates are the commercial and residential.
Right.
Right there.
Then by offering these rebates, the commercial and residential do have savings because of these rebates, correct?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, they
And
would.
it did really improve from there to there.
I guess I think it's a good program.
Rick, what do you think?
Yep, fine with me.
Bill?
No idea.
No idea? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Any other discussion? You want to discuss it anymore? Okay, then do I have a motion to continue the SIP program as it has been?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Rick, second by Jenny to continue the SIP program. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, now we're moving on to the fire pension. Marcia, you want to take over and talk about it?
Well, every year you're required to let the city council know whether there's a municipal contribution to the, required for the fire pension in August, and I'm just supplying you with the information that there's no municipal contribution required this year. And you have a sheet in there showing the liability and the municipal contribution.
Okay.
So I just need to inform the council of that, and it's required to do it in August.
Then you can continue.
Okay, building permits, the schedule or the listing is in there. I don't know if the street projects 2018, if you want to share with which streets you've picked out.
Yeah, Rick and I and Josh kind of talked about doing First Street Northwest, going from Highway 4, or Highway 19, I mean, up to 4th Street Northwest. Actually 4th Ave, sorry. From Highway 19 up to 4th Ave on 1st Street Northwest, and then also continuing kind of by Ross Knockriders on 1st Avenue, northeast, northwest, and come around past on 3rd Street, going past Brenda Johnson's house,
Okay.
and then come around 2nd Avenue and go all the way to Park Street.
So you're kind of making a circle.
Yeah,
Going over this from 19,
yep, go from 19 all the way up to 4th Ave,
and then coming down.
and then basically
Yeah.
do 2nd Avenue from Park Street all the way back around to where the street project ended 2 years ago
How many
by
blocks-
Ross
How
Knockriders.
many blocks is that?
We were hoping for estimates, but
Yeah, he didn't get them done.
no.
They were a little busy. Too many people were gone on vacation, he said, and he didn't have time to get it finished, but,
Okay.
it's roughly 8.
Oh, these are getting two.
I'd say about 11 blocks.
8, 9, 10,
11.
11.
Yeah.
10 to 12 blocks, I'd say, roughly.
Okay, so
So we're gonna start here, right,
right
Rick?
there, yep.
And start here, go up.
Peep, 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 peep.
Yep, and then come around there, and then come down, and then around over to Park.
These two.
Basically, the question would be whether you'd want to bond for it or not. You know, once we get a price, you can at least get a better idea how much it's going to cost and what the total project would be.
Okay. Thank you.
So that'll probably be discussed at the September 6th budget meeting, but we wanted
Yeah, he'll have
to kind
it
of
for
give you
that
a
for sure, but
some thought of what streets they're thinking about doing. The next thing is the small cities program grant for rehab. They've now opened it up to the whole community. There's no designated areas. I think they have requested $36,766 out of the $618,000 allowed. So it's slow going, but maybe with opening it up to the entire community, things will start happening.
Could we advertise it in the paper?
Yeah, it was on the front page.
Was it on
It was on the front page a couple weeks ago. It was a nice article, really good, explained everything, what they have
Nice
to do.
table there, showed what you
Yep,
needed.
and it told what they have to do and, yeah.
Are you glad you asked?
Yeah. I do read the paper, I just didn't see that.
That's right, I had no idea what that other one was.
I get it at work.
The next thing is the 25 First Street Northeast, the structure down here, that house. I don't know if, did you get another estimate on that?
They didn't have time to get
They
here.
didn't?
They're hoping for a rain day.
Okay. Anyway, the fire, removing it by fire is not going to work because is it the state trainer?
Well, the
Who was
school,
it?
yeah.
The
from-
school.
They just kind
They
of,
don't want to do burns in towns anymore.
yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
Kind of advised me against it because they've had issues in the past with
So we'll put-
neighbors, with people with smoke inhalation
It makes
issues or,
sense.
Melted siding.
yes.
So how are we gonna take it down? Just
We'll
let-
we'll get another quote for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Next meeting you'll have a quote. Maybe they'll have it ready by then.
Okay,
It's construction season and nobody
Yeah,
wants to
they're all
take the
pretty
time
busy and
to-
nobody wants to come out and do quotes.
Yeah, so anyway, we'll see if we
He's
can.
hoping for a rain day so he can get
get
here and
two
get
quotes.
a bid in on it, so.
Yeah. So,
who do you have to bid?
and
I just called Hoffman and asked them, so
Awesome.
if they have
Okay.
other ones, I can gladly call them, so.
Okay, do you have anything else?
We went out and kind of overseen, they were digging out at, Howie Legal called Fay and Cloggis Tiling to come out and dig up kind of this water, that water spot where we had a possible force main leak. So I went out there to oversee just to see if there was any issues, and they dug a couple of trenches. Howie was looking for a tile line. He never found a tile line. Then they dug kind of going east and west across our force main, and once they got to the force main, there was no visible of any findings that there was a leak or nothing. So I just wanted to make note of it, that we have it documented, and so everybody knows about it. And so we should be free and clear on it because there was nothing found in that area. So, and they even exposed the force main there. So
Okay.
Did Mr. Liebel agree with that when he looked at it, or does he still think it was?
at the time,
Okay. So at the time, he agreed with it?
yes.
Okay.
Yep. It was dry, and there was nothing you could argue about. So.
Okay.
You're done. I don't really have much. We've had some issues with our coolers. I was gonna ask you though, that bid, that didn't have anything to do with the basement though, right? That was just upstairs?
Which one did you have? Was that the one from? Yeah, that one was just for the big cooler. Yeah.
Okay.
But I would imagine they're both basically the same system, so I would
Do you
imagine.
have the other one too?
No, he never.
Do you have it? Oh, you haven't got it?
He never
Okay.
got it to me yet. So.
Okay. We're working on
I
some
called
bids.
him on it. He was going to send it out, and I haven't seen it yet. So.
Yes, our walk-in cooler and the basement, keg cooler, we're having some struggles with, but they're ancient, so it's just the way it is. So we're working on getting some bids to see what the next step is with that. About half of the bid that we have, we just put into it just for Freon and so for the most part, and a quick fix. So it doesn't really make sense to keep putting that much in every time it needs Freon, which is quite often. So we are working on getting those, and we'll probably have more info by
And
next.
Both people that have looked at it basically stated that it's served its time, and Ready to retire?
So, yes, that's pretty much all I have. Anybody has any questions?
Have you got wine club going again?
Wine club's going again, going good. Yep, next Monday.
How's Sunday sales going?
Pretty slow. But I mean, right now, it's hard right now because this is our slowest time of the year in general. So it's kind of a hard trial and error period. So we'll see how it goes when school's back in session and football starts, and have a little better idea, I think, in the fall. I worked last Sunday. It was busier than, since it was the busiest Sunday we've had so far, but it was by no means overly busy. So, but I do know that there was a few people who were in, and we've had it in the paper, I've had it online, and it's been advertised within the store that came in, and they're like, they called and they're like, are you open? And I was like, yeah, we have been for 6 weeks. I didn't know that. So I don't know how else I can put it out there. I mean, so now people I think are starting to realize that we're open, so see if that makes a difference.
Okay. Thank you. Scott?
He's not quite yet.
Thanks.
Okay. We had 215 calls in July. That's I think 30 less than June. And at our police committee meeting, I told them that I'm going to take about 2 months off. And they're going to put Kenny as acting chief while I'm gone. And we also agreed on hiring another part-time just to come in to fill in, because our other part-timers are full-time other places, and their help is on leave too. So we decided to hire Brady Nesbert. He's one of the deputy sheriff's part-time, or he works there full-time, so he'll be with us part-time. And we are applying for 2 grants. It's for a grant for a full-time police officer that'll pay for 3/4 of his wage. And the other grant is to reimburse us for our bulletproof vests. So, and that is all so far. Any questions? Never had questions.
How much did you say that the grant was going to pay for a full-time policeman?
3/4 of the wage.
3/4 of it?
3/4 of the wage in health
Okay. Okay.
For 3 years.
for 3 years.
Then you assume
So
responsibility.
every year we figured it was like $13,000 that could come out of our budget.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then, we have the committee reports. Okay, we've had all this, we're all done. Any no correspondence, any concerns? I just have one thing I want to mention, that Linda and Kurt Frank and Leander and Mary Knockreiner had the National Night Out Party. And it was just really nice, and I think next year we have to think about somehow we can promote it. It's a good thing. People that probably don't ever talk to each other get together.
Should try to get the police and fire over with it too.
Yes, I think so.
A lot of other towns do that.
They do, and I think it's something.
Does one every year.
They've done it, this was their 3rd year, they said, and it was just nice, it was fun, and I think it's something we need to remember for next year that we somehow promoted. Okay? Anybody have anything else, any concerns of any sort? Okay, if not, then I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Ralph, second by Jenny to adjourn, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
I was
No, you're not.
just late.
Joel, can I talk to you for a second?
Now you're in trouble.
Just a second,
Question.
give me something.
Hey, grab the mic.
I didn't bring
Oh, sorry, Ralph. Yeah,
That's the day after my house.
September 6th.
Yes.
Perfect.
Good. September 6th. And then we have, okay,
I'll just let Nelson know, but yeah, it's basically
Okay, that's a 6 here.
whatever route
And then
fiber's
we have
taken,
our open
is kind of where we're marking.
special meeting here. And then we have special, and then we have,
See you, man.
just a second, now we have the 19th.
I remember that.
and we have-
Yeah, that one comes out of, I remember that.
Here for you, communities.